Welcome to the final episode of Season 1 of Luxury Travel Innovators. I'm your host, Adam Deflorian. Today, we're looking back at the best of moments throughout the year, starting with Episode 7 featuring Nina Ruggiero from Travel & Leisure.
My favorite change that has happened, and I think it's because of AI, is that I really feel that people are seeking out human experts when it comes to travel, right? So whereas, for example, a couple of years ago, our Instagram would have just been a bunch of beautiful landscapes. Now they want to see our faces, like we were just talking about. They want to know you're a real person. You know, if it's me, it'd be, you've been to Italy a million times. I want to know where you're going in Italy and what was your experience really like? And that's allowed us to really insert ourselves and our unique experiences into our stories and our videos. And I actually really love that.
Yeah, it's all about, it's that human connection, which has been a theme of Luxury Travel Innovators, has been sort of, don't lose the human connection.
Exactly.
It's like we have to, we can use tools to innovate, make things more efficient and make things better. But like, how do we connect human to human? And I think there's been, as we've sort of veered towards that AI direction, like I was just telling you earlier for our listeners, I took my first Waymo earlier, right? And it was remarkable. I mean, there was no driver and it was great. And I did it twice. And it was a little weird the first time. And then the second time I started getting used to it, right? And I think that in that direction, we are starting to get used to our tools and our technology, but we also crave human connection probably more than we ever have because of the fear of losing it.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of why in social, you guys are starting to see so much demand for human content, and also why the spike in influencers, right? Like we were just talking about, because people want to see other people's faces
100%.
and they want that human, tool. From Episode 4 with James Henderson from Exclusive Resorts.
I think we've seen a big shift in the last 4 years in travel. I think that we've gone through these phases where travel was a fly and flop. You go to a destination, you flop down and you just relax on a beach somewhere. And then it was sort of the Instagram generation of how many pictures can I get in certain locations. I think travel's evolved from that. I think it's really become much more about these experiences where it's not about materialism, about things you can pick up anymore. It's about finding time and getting away from some of the digital devices that are around you and immersing yourselves in these experiences. And I think that's really the luxury of travel today. I mean, we see it a lot with some of the things that we do in the trips that we send members on. And it's nice to see people just disconnect in those environments. And again, I think one of the things that we talk about a lot internally is that I think the pandemic kind of level set for a lot of things. I think it was about relationships that you realize how important they were. I think there was a sort of an element of the fact we have finite life. Right. We talk a lot internally about this concept of 4,000 weeks. So if you live to 77.8 years of age, then that's the average age in America, and that gives you 4,000 weeks. So
including birth. That's from being born all the way through.
All the way through, right? And so you think about that, and then you start thinking, well, how many festives have I got left with my family, my parents, or how much time have I got with my kids? I mean, your son's 5, and that's going to go real fast, right? So you have to think about how do you do those things. And when you look back, it's not the things that you brought home from those trips. It's the memory of that moment on the beach or that picnic you did. So I think that's the luxury travel. I think.
From Episode 14 with Leo Giddies of Nyara Resorts.
Sustainability is our passion. We are obsessed with sustainability. It will take me a long time to tell you everything that we do. Let me see how I can just do it quickly. So let me start with Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, our 3 hotels are carbon neutral. I'll just tell you quick things that we've done. A hotel that is very close to my heart is Nayara Tented Camp. And I'll tell you the story about Nayara Tented Camp. 10 years ago, I bought a little mountain. This mountain is located in the middle of the rainforest, but it had been totally decimated, totally destroyed by cattle ranchers. Nothing grew. There was not even grass. And what most people do not realize, when you cut the trees, you also kill the root system that keeps the topsoil down. So when it rains, and it rains a lot in the rainforest, this mountain became a river of mud, just mudslides all the time. I used to go up to this mountain and I wanted to cry because there was no wildlife. I mean, you couldn't, there was not even a butterfly. There was no grass. There was absolutely nothing. We made the decision that we wanted to bring back the rainforest. We had no idea how difficult that was going to be. It took us 10 years to do it. And we first had to stabilize the mountain, which meant bring thousands of rocks, big boulders, so that we could create terraces. Then we started bringing plants. We ended up planting more than 40,000 trees and plants.
Holy cow.
Nowadays, it's not a mature rainforest by any stretch of the imagination, but it's full of wildlife. There are monkeys, sloths, all kinds of birds, frogs. It's a real ecosystem. And we ended up building Nayara Tented Camp in the middle of what's now this forest.
From episode 9 with Jan Arnold from Rocco Forte Hotels. What innovation in travel doesn't exist today that you think is missing? And it doesn't have to be technology. It could just be operationally, it could be experience-wise, but what's missing? What's your idea for the next entrepreneur to pick up?
Look, I've been thinking about this a lot because, there's one thing that I really miss and that I hate, and that's my biggest pet peeve. And that's when you go to a hotel and you use the luggage racks, and they're always too small for your suitcase. Right? They're like, I travel a lot, and, sometimes I'm on the road for 2 weeks or for 3 weeks. I have these massive suitcases. And then you go to a hotel and they give these teeny tiny luggage racks, and, it doesn't work. And then the luggage falls down. You got to put it on the floor. You got to put it on the couch, and, it looks terrible. I don't understand why hotel companies, and I know I work for one, why they don't have proper luggage racks where you can get a big suitcase on. And I was in Paris a couple of weeks ago, and I had a meeting with the CEO of Remova.
Yeah.
And I said, look, there's one thing that I want to tell you, and I don't really even want commission on it in the future, but build a proper luggage rack that you can get your big suitcases on. If that problem was fixed, and maybe there's somebody here, in the audience that is listening to us that is going to invent that, go for it. I think to me, that is one of the things that is missing, and I don't know why we're not getting it right.
And have Remova sponsor it and have it be present in all the best hotels in the world.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, maybe I get 10% commission on it. But anyhow,
we heard it here. It's on record.
It's on record.
From episode 13 with Barbara Muckerman from Kempinski Hotels.
Our historical hotel is the Vierjahreszeit in Munich, which has been the hotel of the Royal House of Bavaria since 1856. Wow. So the moment when Prince Luitpold of Bavaria approached us and asked us whether we wanted to manage his private residency, which is in the park of Nymphenburg. Nymphenburg is the Versailles of Munich.
Okay.
This was an amazing privilege. And when I walked to the residency, I said, this is really where it can all restart, because this residence represents luxury. Yeah. Just to give you a sense, it's the only hotel in the world where we are basically changing the chandelier every time that a guest spends a night in the master bedroom, because it's done with ostrich feathers.
Wow.
And you cannot change them. So this is you cannot just wash them. You need to change the whole thing. So this is really how luxurious this residence is.
That's amazing. Are ostrich feathers, I would assume, quite large?
Quite big and very pink, actually.
Very pink. That's incredible. From episode 5 with Chris Hamaway from Montage International. You hear it everywhere, from Virtuoso Travel Week to ILTM, all my most recent recordings that I've done, that experiential travel and once-in-a-lifetime experiences is everything right now. And I know that you love to fly fish. Am I right?
Oh, this is a layup. Okay, good.
Okay.
I could stop being worried about this question.
So can you tell our listeners about some of the lodges that you would say are just delivering on that promise right now? Like, what are the most extraordinary sort of fishing lodges that you've recently had the opportunity to be able to fish that are really next level?
I love this question. We can do all the interviews like this. Look, I think one of the things, one of these commonality traits, again, is this idea of family ownership. And it's not just the fishing lodges. These great hotels, there's almost always some type of family connection. To answer the question directly, there's great fishing lodges. It's extraordinary. Fly fishermen and travel, if it's in Dubai or in the Seychelles or in Alaska, there's this camaraderie that exists. Probably top of the list. There's a place called Alaska Sportsman's Lodge, ASL, owned by a gentleman, a friend of mine named Brian Kraft. I think he runs 99.6% repeat occupancy. $99.6. They only run season for approximately 110 days. If you want great dates, and the seasons in Alaska are very finite, things happen by the week. I think it took me 8 years to get the dates that I have now. And the understanding is when you leave the lodge, you give them an up or down on if you want your dates for next year, and you'll always have your dates. I could tell you that my dates opened up because the 2 people who had them were ended up, I think, getting incarcerated. And I remember he called me and said, I have these dates, but the people who have them want to pay half your trip because they want their dates when they come out in 3 years. And I just chuckled to myself and said, man, you're running a good product. But it's not about the fishing at these places. It's just like any other great, I talked about the Brando, talking about Glen Eagles. It's about what they deliver. You can't control the fishing every time.
Yeah.
But the camaraderie, the culinary, the little touches, this len yap, this concept of a little something extra that so many of these lodges do very right. If it's, and things you didn't expect, where is, oh, wow, is that a logo named personalized Yeti luggage and water bottle? Huh. Wow. So and I know what it takes. And by the way, you're 40 miles from the nearest dirt airport, and you're going, how did they do that? And so, like, again, someone like Brian Kraft, they're so dialed in. But there's a lot of great examples. I'm a huge fan of things that aren't montage, and resorts that aren't montage. There's so many that touch on these. Bears Lodge in the Bahamas is another one. South Andros Island. You're not going there if you're not fly fishing, but you're not giving up anything to go there.
Yeah, Connor does a great job at Glen Eagles, obviously. And it's amazing. What you just said is like, it's Scotland. The weather is unpredictable. So,
the thing about Connor, or about the hotel in general, is you look at it and you go, he's made it personal. And I think that's something I feel very strongly in. I keep going back to, when you make something personal, it works. And Connor's the face of that hotel to so many people, but it's also the little things. I had my family at Glen Eagles, and my youngest daughter at the time, I think she was, I'm going to do the math in my head, I think she was 8. She said, Dad, I really want to go fly fishing. And there was like a half day or a full day. And I didn't really want to, can't believe I'm saying this, I didn't really want to take a full day and go fly fishing away from my other daughter and wife. And we were having the conversation at breakfast, and I said, look, we'll look into it, but we might do it a different time. That afternoon, knock on the door, and a guy opened the door, and it's one of their experienced people. I said, hey, we heard that this opportunity, we've arranged something. Can you be downstairs tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.? And I went downstairs at 7 with my daughter, and up pulls this green Range Rover with the ghillie, suit and tie, 2 fly rods. And he goes, do you have an hour? And literally he drove, I think, 75 yards to this beautifully stocked, maybe it was 100 yards, pond, but made it like she was going on an experience. Had the little stuff laid out, helped her cast. I think she caught 4 trout. You couldn't have seen a happier smile on a human. Caroline was literally ear to ear beaming.
From episode 17 with Ian DiTullio from Minor Hotels.
So White Lotus, yeah, that was a bit of work, but it's fantastic. First of all, we as I've mentioned, we actually own the Four Seasons Hotel where they filmed White Lotus, but it was also filmed in a number of other Anantara hotels. Okay. So the easy one is Four Seasons Samui. That is that wonderful hotel, cliffside that you see for most of the show. A lot of the opening scenes, of course, where you actually the opening scene is filmed in one of our hotels which is called Maikau, which was one of our original Anantaras. Beautiful vintage Thai feel, deep embeddedness in the Thai culture, and so it's been tremendously impactful for that hotel because people are trying to relive the White Lotus experience. They're like, oh yeah, this is where that guy was shot. Terribly, obviously not the kind of thing you want to promote, but I'm kind of giving you a verbatim of what people are saying.
Yeah.
Or in Boput in Samui, for example, I was there a few weeks ago for a weekend. And you can see people kind of doing this mindfulness exercise where they're doing this on the same sala, which is, this kind of pagoda-looking thing. Yeah. And so they're just there, sitting, chilling, and then, they're getting pictures taken. Then there's the other scene where they realize that they're in this older generations type of hotel. I don't know if you've seen it, and the girls are kind of like, does everyone here look like a bit more elderly? So, and so there's always at least one or two ladies sitting there kind of saying, take the picture. And then there's this post like #WhiteLotus elderly hotel, which it's not, by the way, it's a family hotel. Yeah. And so the whole spa scene, same thing. The spa scenes where it was filmed is in this hotel in Beauport called the Anantara Beauport. So it's been
With the lily pads and
with the lily pads and the boat. And I mean, it's quite dramatic. It looks great. We also renovated the hotel, so it's the timing could not have been better. Our bookings increased almost threefold during the announcements and the early phases of White Lotus. Our direct share, more importantly, grew almost 50%.
Yeah.
So it's been great, not only for us, but for Thailand as a country. I mean, for a lot of people, Thailand historically has meant backpacking and partying in Bangkok, and then I'll hit a beach and it's cheap and whatever. The reality is, I mean, Bangkok has some of the best hotels in the world. You just look at the rankings. I'm not shamelessly promoting it, but you just look at the numbers. Then it's got some of the most Michelin restaurants in the world as well. In the top 50 list, it hits way above its weight, along with Japan. So it's nice because you're now discovering a country not only because of course, the appeal for backpacking, which is still great, but luxury travel, mindfulness. Wellness. I mean, there are things that people didn't really think about Thailand as a destination for, and it's been good for everyone. And we've been thrilled to really have been chosen for our presence in the show.
From episode 18 with Francesco Galizugaro of Aqua Expeditions.
Our typical guest is not a cruising clientele. Okay, so our typical guest is someone who's been everywhere, has done everything, but has a sense of adventure that we all have innate in our bodies, that we feel this desire to go out of our comfort zone and have these wow moments, right? Where we're snorkeling with whale sharks, or we're, walking along giant tortoises in the Galapagos, or we're biking through beautiful rice paddies in Cambodia. So we appeal to that sense of exploration, that sense of adventure, but we obviously make sure that we don't sacrifice any creature comforts that our travelers and our guests are wanting and expecting to have. Our guests are staying in all the top properties of the world, the Amans, the Four Seasons, the Ritz-Carltons, but they also travel to these exotic destinations. And when they do so, they want to do it in an authentic way. Yeah. And I think whilst the word cruising, sometimes people don't know where to put us. They don't know. I think I just put ourselves in that experiential travel space. But what we do is we keep it as authentic as possible.
From episode 2 with Sam Chamberlain from Ponant Expedition Group.
We just did what I would call a first with exploration across the St. Lawrence. Ponant was the first cruise line to enter the St. Lawrence during the Arctic winter, for the obvious reason that we are the only line that has the Commandant Charcot, which is that icebreaker. I kind of call it this greatest hits of Charcot itinerary, because most of the itineraries for that ship go to the North Pole, they go to Antarctica. The length of itinerary, just because of those journeys, is 12 to 20 nights, whereas on day 2, we were breaking through 4 feet of ice in Saguenay. We dropped the gangway directly onto the ice, got out, dog sledded, snowshoed, and really did what I think was just this amazing adventure itinerary across the St. Lawrence.
From episode 10 with Shrikant Shenoy from Adira Hospitality, a PIF company.
They were able to basically bring it down to the nomadic roots of that society, right? I mean, it was a society that, lived in the desert in pretty harsh conditions. There were settlements and camps. If you were trying to travel from A to B, you had to make sure the conditions were such that you had to make sure that by the end of the day, by sunset, you reached a settlement, and then whoever lived in that settlement had to be open to receive you and to host you and to have you stay in their house and to feed you and to look after you.
Yeah.
If not, then in those desert conditions, you wouldn't survive, right? I mean, this is the thing. And why would they do that? I guess they did that because they then hoped that you would do that in return for them when they were traveling. And,
got it.
So that's how that sort of culture came about, that if somebody comes to your door, you take them in and you look after them.
From episode 21 with Gregory Day from Manny Brothers and Malibu Beach Inn.
I'm thinking about getting into this business. What do you think? And I'm happy to give them sort of my unvarnished thoughts. But the reality is, the first thing is if helping people isn't in your DNA, this is not the job for you. And I can relate back to that. Not that I thought about it that way, but as I've got a few years on me now, in a way, there was almost no better natural progression than going from being a paramedic to working in the hospitality industry. although I'm not saving any lives here, clearly, although maybe with this Negroni, this is pretty good. I am helping people, and I'm helping people have a better, portion of their life, even if it's for only 1 or 2 days.
Totally. And you from the utmost of care to hospitality, which makes perfect sense, actually. From episode 1 with Nathan Lump from National Geographic.
There's still stuff to explore out there in the world, and we have people who are out doing that and just really bringing that forward, telling amazing stories about that work, and kind of reminding people that there is still so much to explore and learn about our world, and that's worth doing. I think it's always been part of our mission. I think it's something we can kind of bring forward again in a way that I hope people will find compelling.
Thanks for watching this episode of Luxury Travel Innovators. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you next time.